I have so many questions that I have for you guys about the film, about like, I never thought in a million years that I get to talk to you guys. Yeah.
I saw your autograph video on your shelf.
I got this.
Yeah.
Steve was in town in Vancouver, and I was like, I wanted him to sign this, and I felt like such a nerd because I also have this, and I didn't get him to sign this. So I will meet you guys one day, and I'll get you guys to sign this for me. But yeah, I mean, Hoop Dreams, that's the like quintessential like basketball like film of our time. Yeah, so it's an honor to meet you guys.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production.
Man, we got a special guest today. Not just a special guest, but this is a special episode. We got on the show today an award-winning Canadian filmmaker. Her documentary, Finding Big Country. If you haven't seen it, you better check it out. And if you have seen it, you need to see it again, because that documentary took home the People's Choice Award at the 2018 Vancouver International Film Festival, and it won Best Canadian Film at the Toronto Real Asian Film Festival. The movie has gone on to be aired on ESPN. You hear me, AG? ESPN, ABC, Sportsnet, and one of my favorite, NBA TV. You can't beat that. And her new film, The Grizzlie Truth, explores the unsolved mystery around the Vancouver Grizzlies and their disappearance. It's her love letter. I like the way she quotes that. It's her love letter to one of the worst pro sports team in history, and exploration into the deep roots of sports fandom. We'd like to welcome to the Hoop Dreams podcast, very special guest, writer and director, Kat Jayme. I'm Will Gates, and that's my dog,
Arthur Agee. How's it going, Kat? Appreciate you being on the show.
I just have like the biggest smile on my face this entire interview. That was the coolest thing ever. I cannot believe I'm talking to you guys. Like, I grew up, Hoop Dreams is like especially as like a basketball player who's into films, who's into documentaries, like, your stories are so inspiring as a kid growing up playing basketball. I had the same dreams that you guys had. Like, I watched Hoop Dreams a few days ago to prepare for this. I feel like I have so many questions for you guys, and just like, seeing your guys' bedroom, like Arthur, your bedroom as a kid with like Isaiah Thomas posters, all like that was me. Like, that's every kid growing up who has dreams of like, playing in the NBA. I thank you so much for having me. That was like the coolest introduction ever. That was like a mic drop. I can just stop making films now. Game over. Yeah.
Boom.
Well, welcome to the show. But before we even get started in things, you gotta let us know what you got on. You gotta show us what you're repping. There it is, right there.
The old school.
There it is. That's old school.
Team Dime. Team Dime.
On.
Gotta represent.
I love it. And we got to send word to Mike that he's still being repped up there in Canada.
Totally.
We got to send word to him. Well, Kat, we're so glad that you into the store and on the show. And AG in our show, it's a little bit different. I know you want to ask us a lot of questions, but the reality is this is about you and about your story, about your success. And we really want to just get into your origin story. So take us back to Vancouver in the 90s. What was it like?
I'm born and raised in Vancouver. I started getting into, I have an older brother and I wanted to be exactly like him. So he had like a hockey phase and I got into hockey. Then he had a baseball phase. I got into baseball. But then, when in the 90s, when MJ, hit the court, and every kid wanted to be like MJ. So my brother started playing basketball and I just followed suit, and I fell in love immediately with the game. And it was a sport that just came so naturally to me. Like, I watched footage of myself as a kid watching and like shooting, and I'm like, man, like no one, I have a pretty good follow through, and no one taught me that. It was just all natural.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how, and then the Grizzlies they came to Vancouver at the best time for me starting to play the game, because the NBA came to town and I was like sold. I was hooked. to have NBA players come to my own backyard, to see, like, we had, like, I give talks. I go to high schools and elementaries, and we show Finding Me Country, and I talk about the film and dreams and all this stuff. And one thing I say to them is, like, you guys, like, after school, you'd get to do your homework, and then you'd get to go, Allen Iverson was in town, Kobe Bryant was in town, Michael Jordan was in town, like like Shaq was in town. Everyone was in Vancouver. And so I feel like there's a generation of Grizzly fans like myself who are, fell in love with the team or still in love with the team, even though they're not in Vancouver physically.
Right. Now you say your brother played hockey and baseball. Did he play basketball too?
So he got into basketball, and then that became his sport, and then that became my sport.
Wow.
Because basketball, I mean, Canada is known as a hockey country, but the thing is, basketball is so much more accessible to play, right? All you need is a hoop and a basketball court, and so I think there are less barriers to play the sport.
Wow.
Well, Kat, your story is so unique. You're growing up, the NBA hits your city at the right time for you. You fall in love in the game, but you also got this interest in movies.
Yes.
Where did that love come from?
So yeah, I come from I'm Filipino Canadian. My family's from the Philippines, which also kind of explains my connection to basketball, because in the Philippines we love our basketball. It's a national sport there. And I come from a family of filmmakers. So my grandfather is a filmmaker. His brother was a producer. His dad owned one of the 3 major film studios in the Philippines back in the day. And so I grew up with a camera just pointed at me and my cousins all the time. We have hundreds of thousands of photos, hundreds of tapes. And so I just naturally just grew up with a camera pointed at me. And then I just began documenting things. Like, I know now with social media, everyone documents everything. But when I was in high school, social media didn't exist. But I was that friend who, like, I would bring like a small camcorder to school, and I would film my friends. And, the joke is, like, everyone just is, I can make like an hour reel of my friends just telling me, like, Kat, like, put the camera down, like, stop taking footage of me. Cause I was just that friend that was always documenting everything. And so the thing I love about my job is that I get to combine my 2 passions. So that's basketball and filmmaking. And that's what you see with, Finding the Country and now the Grizzly Truth.
What was the first film you remember seeing?
Oh my gosh. Ever?
Yeah, your first one. Like, you was like, wow.
Oh, that's a good, I mean, I love like Disney. Like, I when I was a kid, I loved Disney Pixar movies. Like, I feel like this wasn't the first film that I saw, but Toy Story was like one of my favorite films. And I remember just like the animation of it. And I wanted to be an animator at one point, but I'm terrible at drawing. So that would never have flown. But again, like, not just saying this, but Hoop Dreams is just like, especially like growing up, being into basketball, being into film and documentary, Hoop Dreams is just such an important film for me as again, not just as a basketball player, but as a basketball player who had dreams and aspirations of becoming a filmmaker and a documentary filmmaker.
Do you remember where you were when you saw Hoop Dreams? Did you go see it in the theater?
You know what? I would have been a bit too young to see it in the theater. I don't know how. I don't remember, like, but you mean Hoop Dreams is like, everyone knows about Hoop Dreams, and like, it's just sort of like part of the basketball, like, canon of, films. And so I don't remember when or how but I know it was like very early on in like my basketball fandom when I like stumbled upon, like, I knew about your guys' story and just ate it all up. Like, that
you was hooked as soon as you saw it.
I mean, if I could buy more things about like the Hoop Dreams, I would.
Yes.
I love it. Well, speaking of Hoop Dreams, we got to talk about your hoop days. I mean, you playing ball? Did you play in high school? And if you did, what, like, give Agee and I, like, what was your game like?
Okay, my game. I mean, I still think I have a nice shot. Like I was point guard. I wish I was shooting guard, but I feel like, I had pretty good handles. And
Mm-hmm.
I love being like the leader on the court. I think the responsibility of point guard is like one that I treasure. That's like such a, important role to have on the court. Everything that I learned on the basketball court has like translated to my filmmaking career. As a director, I feel like it's exact same role as a point guard. Like you're the
Mm-hmm.
one calling the shots, you're the one leading the team, you're the
Yep.
one who, and like I feel like what I learned on the court in terms of how to succeed as a team is translates so well to film, because it's not just about the director. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think my most important my role as a director is to make other people shine and
Right.
bring their talents to the forefront. And that's literally what a point guard does. It's just like making sure that where like your teammate likes to receive the ball, and you know what I mean? Like where their sweet spot is, and so you understand the team dynamics, and it's like my job, as a point guard and as a director, to make sure that all of that is coming to the surface so that you get the best, film possible, and you get the best team possible.
Right. Hey, Kat, let me ask you this: Did your school have a film program?
We did. We had like a class. I took film and TV class, and the very first like film I made was I was in grade 11, and I just bought like it was spring break, and I just bought like a Mac laptop, and it had iMovie, which is like a really like early version of iMovie.
Mm.
And that year I was on the senior basketball team, and I was documenting my friends, like practices, road trips, like tournaments,
Mm.
always had the camera rolling. And for 2 weeks, I didn't go out with friends. I just sat down and I edited this like 2 hour like film, which was just like me and my friends, like, highlights, and like us like goofing off as a team. And that was like, I was hooked once I did that.
Mm.
And that's when it was like, okay, how can I do this as a living, and how can I make this a job?
Did you show your friends the edited
Yeah,
the
yeah. It's like it became a yeah, we all watched it as a team, and it's a
Ah,
really special yeah, really special film that we all used to. It's been like over 10 years,
yeah.
but it's a special film for all of us.
That's like a friendship bond, a friendship
Yeah,
bond film. You know, where as
Mm-hmm.
long as you get older, each one of them have a copy, and
yeah.
everyone can still stay in contact with each other. That's beautiful.
For sure. No, definitely.
You got this interesting mechanism flowing. First of all, your energy is great, by the way. And
Yeah.
Thank you.
but my question for you though is, because you grew up in filmmaking with your family and everything, did you have to go to school or to do
Hmm.
this, or did you just like, hey, I'm just naturally gifted in
Hmm.
this. This is just what I do.
I mean, you definitely don't need to go to school to be a filmmaker, but I studied film at the University of British Columbia. They had a film program there. And in high school, I made more films. I was on student council, and instead of like plays that student council would do for the school, like my friends and I would make films. And so that was like my classmates were like my first audience. And To apply to film school at UBC, you had to submit like a film. And I didn't feel super confident that the films that I had made, which is just like my friends and I goofing off and scaring teachers in the hallways and things like that, would cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another favorite documentary of mine. It's called The Heart of the Game, by Ward Serrell. It's about an all girls high school team in Seattle. It's a beautiful documentary. And I got in touch with Ward because I was like, I needed advice. I had an idea. One of my good friends, her name was Carling Muir, and she played college basketball here in Vancouver. And she was diagnosed, I think, when she was 18 or 19 with brain cancer. And I scrimmaged with the team over the summer, and she really, really inspired me. It was just I was working at a restaurant at that time, and I was like, I was setting tables and like having problems with like my wrist because like the trays are super heavy. And so I remember like after practice one day, we were all kind of saying like telling each other like what our weekend plans were. And I was like, oh, like I'm going to go home and my wrists hurt. I'm going to ice them. And Carling was saying like, I have to go home, take, my chemo medicine. I'm going to get sick. And then like, but then I'll be back next week, you guys. And that just put everything in perspective for me. And I was like, man, like I was just so inspired by her and her story that I knew I wanted to tell her story. And so I talked to Ward Serrell, and he helped me figure out a way to ask Carling if I could, make a film about a short story about your story. And she said yes. And that film ended up helping me get into film school at UBC. And so that film was called True Player. And I called it that because I feel like everyone calls themselves a basketball player. But like to me, she really defined like what a true basketball player was, because she was like, going through chemo or taking medication and still showing up and playing through it despite what it was doing to her body. Yeah. So that's how I got. So that's my story of getting into film school. And
how the hell did you control your emotions behind the camera filming that?
Yeah, it was. She was just so strong and so very inspiring, and just she was just doing her thing. Like it wasn't a big deal to her at all, and that was very inspiring for me and her teammates.
Wow.
And so yes, that was like one of the first films that I made, and then I went to film school, and then you kind of hit the ground running in 2016 with Finding Big Country.
Let me ask you this, Kat. When you finished film school, what was it like? What was your first job?
After film school was tough because, especially when you graduate in the arts, it's sort of like, okay, well, what do I do now? And there's no concrete path for you to follow. Especially coming, I went to pretty academic high school. University was like pretty, that was intense as well. And so then now you're kind of like off to fend for yourself almost. But I got a job at a coffee shop, and I got an internship at the National Film Board of Canada here in Vancouver. And so I flew to the Philippines after graduating university to make another short documentary called Paradise Island about the effects of tourism on this really popular beach in the Philippines. And so I made that film, came back, was still working at the coffee shop, was working at the National Film Board of Canada as an intern. And I think it was like a 3-month internship. And my goal was like, I think it's a Steve Martin quote, which is like, be so good they can't ignore you. And so I was like, I'm just going to try to work as hard as I can so that when my internship is over, like they're going to miss me. And so like everything, things working your way is like a combo of like, it was hard work, but it was like luck. Luck has to be on your side and the stars have to align. And thankfully, when my 3-month internship contract was over, there was like restructuring going on in the organization, and they offered me a full-time job as a production coordinator. And so I started working on, I got to learn so much, working on about 30 different documentaries, animations, digital projects that really set me up to make my own film. So when I resigned in 2016, I was like, okay, I know what to do. And I know I want to tell the story of the Grizzlies, and I kind of, just hit the ground running with that.
Stepped out on faith, huh?
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to jump. And at that point, I think it was like, I had been with the NFB for 3 years, and I felt like I had, I loved my job so much. It was comfortable. I was working on amazing projects, but I wasn't directing them myself. And so there's that fear. It's like, okay, well, am I going to make it if I just make the leap? But at some point, I think, the morning I decided, I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And I woke up one morning, I was like, you know what? I'm ready. And I don't care if this blows up in my face. I just need to try. And that's like, I feel like that's such an empowering moment for anyone who realizes, okay, like I'm just gonna try this, and to not be scared if you fail. I think you know, no one could have rushed me to get to that moment. I think you can kind of have to just get there on your own.
Yeah.
But I was ready, and again, like they were so awesome, so supportive of me doing my own thing and trying to break out as a director myself. And then I literally, again, hit the ground running in I'd resigned in 2016, and then in 2018, Finding Big Country premiered. So it was like 2 years of like hustling and hard work, but it paid off in the end.
I want to know how that 2 years was. Like, did you still have some uphill battles while making Finding Big Country? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was you like questioning yourself? Like, damn, we got to make another phone call here. I got to go to this person.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So you have to remember, like with Finding Big Country, so I was like, I knew I wanted to tell the story of the Grizzlies, but it was like, okay, but what's my angle? Like, how am I approaching this? And so I was like, started to do research, and every article I found about the Grizzlies ended with the line, Bryant. Do you guys are familiar with Bryant Reeves, like Big Country?
Oklahoma State.
Played against them in college. Played against them in high school.
Oh,
absolutely.
No way. Okay,
yes.
So every article ended with the line, like, Bryant has never publicly spoken about his time in Vancouver. So I was like, this is it. Like, Bryant was like my favorite player. I'm going to get that first interview. And so it's funny though, because, you know, I'm here alone in Vancouver in my room with this big dream, but like, how am I actually going to do that? Because I'm just a talented fan who became a filmmaker with no connections to anyone in the NBA. I'm nobody to all these people. And so, you know, I just started picking up the phone and calling anyone and everyone. And I had literally 10 seconds to like, I'd be like, hi, my name is Kat Jayme. I'm a childhood fan of the Vancouver Grizzlies. I want to be the first girl to play in the NBA. That never worked out. I became a filmmaker instead. My dream is to tell the story of the Vancouver Grizzlies. Can you help me? And that's literally, I had to say it that fast because they're getting this like random number. They think I'm a telemarketer or something. Yeah. And I had to sell them right away. And thankfully, like everyone said yes. And Barry Trammell, who is a reporter in Oklahoma City, he's the one who really opened the door, who said, okay, I don't have contact to Bryant, but here are 3 people who might. And that's kind of how this all got going. But I will say, like, starting out in this industry, especially in the media sports landscape, it was really hard for people to trust me and like believe in me. And so that's why I feel like now that I'm in this space, like it's my job to help other like female POC filmmakers, BIPOC filmmakers who, you know, if they want to be in like the sports landscape, media landscape, like it is my job to help them come through the door. Because it took 2, like so many people said no to Finding Big Country. But you just need that one yes. You just need that one yes.
So how did that meeting go with Big Country where he said yes? And he done been out of the spotlight forever. He don't want to be in a spotlight. Yeah. And like, how did that even go? Like for y'all to even convince them, like, yo, people are still interested in you.
So what happened was, so I got the phone number of 3 people who might know Bryant. Only one person got back to me, Jordan Woodruff, and you know, thank you so much to the Woodruff family. I'll send you guys this link and, you know, shouting them out because they were so helpful. And what happened is, and I guess I'll preface this with, and this is sort of like behind the scenes that no one really knows about this story of how this actually ended up. But I found out that Bryant was going to be inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. And so I was like, he's going to be there. So I need to be there. I had no financial support. Like this is all coming out of like my own money. Like no one was backing up the film at this point. And I was like, okay, I got to be there. So I like bought a ticket. I figured out my hotel accommodations. I got media accreditation to the event. I was able to.
Damn, like you straight grinding, hustling. Like, see, that's part of failure. What you said, fuck it, the hell with it. I'm finna go buy my own plane ticket. I'm finna go up here and meet this dude and tell him what I'm doing. That takes some ballsy guts.
Yeah, no, it was
on your own dime.
My own time. And well, I thankfully have a supportive family, but it was like, money that I'd saved from working at the film board, money that I'd saved that I working at the coffee shop. And I was able to collaborate with a local cinematographer here. And so we went there. We flew to Oklahoma, and because we were making this trip, I wanted to line some pre-interviews with people that I was talking to on the phone. And everyone I spoke to was like, Kat, like, I'm sure Bryant would love to meet you. Why don't I call him today? And I was like, no. Don't tell him I'm coming, because I'm going to meet him next week, and I want to be able to introduce myself to him myself. So they're like, sure, no problem. So anyways, I get to Oklahoma. I meet a bunch of these people that have helped me. And I get a call the night before I'm supposed to go to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron, one of his buddies, Ron, calls me and he's like, you know what, Kat, Bryant doesn't like surprises. And so I felt it was important that I told him you were coming. He's excited to meet you. He wants to meet you, and he's going to give you some time, at the awards to sit and chat with you. So I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for your help. What happened was I get there, and this doesn't make the cut of the film. There's a lot of stuff that had to end up making the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
But as soon as I see Bryant, the first thing he says to me, he comes up to me. He's like the nicest human being I've ever met in my life. He's just a big friendly giant. And he comes up to me and he goes, you must be Kat. I've heard a lot about Kat. And I was like, I've heard a lot about you too, Bryant. And we sat down, and I brought my a scrapbook of my childhood, like Grizzly memorabilia, drawings of him, drawing of the Grizzlies. And I got to sit down with him, and I was just like, I'd be so honored if I told your story, so I was able to kind of connect with him on that personal level. And, again, he was just like, Kat, any way that I can help you, I will. And so he gave me his phone number, his email address. And then the next day, because I was supposed to leave for Vancouver the next day, I get a phone call from Story Hive, who funded the film, and they told me, they're like, Kat, you got one of these grants. It was part of this competition called 100K grant to make the film. And so all the stars aligned. And one of my favorite quotes from a filmmaker mentor of mine is, when your intentions are pure, the angels will come. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is what happened with Finding Big Country, because literally, like, no one really believed in me. No one gave me a shot. I was just like, I knew I had a good story. I knew what I was capable, me and my team were capable of. I was like,
But you believed in you, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You believed in you.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
It's all it takes.
Damn. Talking about the stars aligning, that changed the whole dynamic of y'all meeting.
Exactly. And what's great is because I was able to chat with a lot of Bryant's friends who Bryant trusted. It was like I wasn't this random stranger. It was like someone that his friends had all approved. And so, which put the pressure on me, because I was like, oh man, like I don't want to let them down either. And I think that's a great thing to feel as a filmmaker, to have, to build these relationships, to build this trust. But they really helped open the doors to and even this never made the cut, I don't think, but I asked Bryant, I was like, why did you agree to this? And he's like, well, everyone said that I should do it, and they liked you, they trusted you. So his friends really, again, like helped open the door for me to get to have him chat with me.
It's so funny. Shaquille O'Neal always says, Big Country Reeves always gave me problems.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the number one guys. Yeah.
Every time I played against this dude, I know he going right over the shoulder, fake, overhook.
Yeah. Brian had a nice, and he still has a nice shot. We play each other in the film. He kicks my butt. He still has a nice shot. He has a nice touch. Soft hands for a big guy.
That is the truth. Now, before we get deeper into your career and your story, Agee and I got this thing we call halftime.
Okay.
So we're going to ask you some quick hitters.
Okay.
And want to see what you're going to throw at us. So I'm going to kick it off with this. Give me your top 3 greatest Grizzly moments that you witnessed.
Oh, okay. Okay. So there's gonna be a mix here. My favorite Grizzly moment, and I think it's like one of my most special childhood memories, is when Charles Barkley was in town. I think he was like one of the most famous NBA superstars that I saw. And he, like, my dad got his tickets right above like the tunnel. And I just remember being so blown away. And as a kid, I just remember being like, that's Charles Barkley, and he's so close to me. And I was just so blown away. And that, again, I feel like that was so magical. I wasn't at this game, but it is part of Grizzlies folklore, which is the Derek Martin MJ trash talking game, where MJ was like, we were about to beat the Chicago Bulls, like, and with maybe 7 minutes left, Derek Martin starts trash talking him, and just, like saying, like, you like, and then MJ just turns it on, and then he beats us, he creams us, he takes over. I think he scores like 14 points in a row in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. We were literally about to win, and I've interviewed Derek Martin and Antonio Harvey, Byron Scott. Byron Scott to this day, just says how mad he is because Byron was guarding MJ. Right. So he was like, why are you talking to my guy? Like, you don't have to guard MJ. I have to guard MJ. Right. So, and even though we lost, like, it was so cool to have an MJ moment in Vancouver. Wow. And so that, I think, is another great moment. And then another great moment is, I mean, when we beat Steve Francis, and we, Houston was always like a personal game for Vancouver fans. And there was one game when we did beat Mike Bibby with a buzzer beater to win it at the last second. So that was another memorable game for us Vancouver fans.
All right, give me 3 favorite sports movies other than Hoop Dreams.
The Fab Five, like 30 for 30 Fab Five, by Jason Eyre. Like, he directed The Last Dance. But the Fab Five is like one of my favorite documentaries of the ESPN, of the 30 for 30 series. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, Heart of the Game, I mentioned that, which was such a great movie. And there's so many great documentaries out right now. What's another one that I can think of? Let's see. I mean, The Last Dance, that's so good. All the Untold Stories, so great. Malice in the Palace. Like, there's just so many good sports docs coming out right now.
Now, this might be a toughie. Other than Hoop Dreams again, that DVD that you have in your room, yeah. What are some of your favorite sports collectibles that you have?
Ooh, okay. Jerseys. I have, I would say, do I have it here? I think they're in my closet, but I don't know if you guys remember this. They were called the Headliners. Mm-hmm. They were like these action figures that, like, they didn't move or anything, but you could just, like, I remember the commercial, and I had, like, my favorite was, like, the first one that I bought was, like, Patrick Ewing. So I had my Patrick Ewing Headliner. I was so into basketball cards. Oh my God. I don't even know how much I spent in high school on basketball cards.
Who did you collect? Which there was so many basketball cards out there. Who's your favorite brand?
I loved, was it Skybox? It was like, there was one that had like the fire, kind of.
Was that Flare?
Maybe it was Flare, but it was like, there were graphics, and the ball had like a fire, like, coming out.
Like a hologram thing.
Like yeah. I love those ones. But yeah, my brother got into basketball, but I took it to the next level because I just became so obsessed with everything. Actually, here, one of my favorite sports movies, Space Jam. I love Space Jam. Like, Space Jam, I was obsessed with Space Jam.
So, original or part 2?
The original.
The original.
I got love for part 2, but it's the original with MJ. Like, I I loved Space Jam.
Let me hit you with this question. Let me get you this. The toughest player to track down for an interview.
Oh my gosh. The toughest player. I guess I'll say Brian was hard only because he was the first. Because once you got someone on board, it was easy. Once you got in touch with someone else, you could say, I have Brian, like Brian's on board. And then everyone would say, okay, yeah, sure. So after Brian, Bibby was the next person that who invited me and my team to his house. And it was so great to spend time with him in Phoenix. And shoot some, like, you know, he put me through basketball drills, played Mario Kart together. Yeah. He has like an arcade, like he has a room that's like an arcade room.
Did he show you the Jordan shoe room?
He did not. He did not.
Oh.
He was, I know, but he showed me a shoe from his collection, but that was off limits for us.
I'm going to Phoenix just to go to the shoe room.
That's right.
You have,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. You got to see that. You got to see that.
Were there any interviews that you wanted that you didn't get?
I mean, there's some, I don't want to give out too much because we have a secret surprise interview for the Grizzlie Truth, but I will say that I was able to talk to enough people to get what we needed to uncover the truth behind why the Grizzlies left town.
I can't wait for that story.
Yeah. Do you guys remember the Grizzlies a little bit, like from back in the day?
Yeah, the expansion team.
Yeah,
that's how Byron Scott got on the team.
Yeah,
Greg Anthony.
Yes, Greg Anthony, Byron Scott. So good. With Edwards, like
they had to fill the team out with some veterans that was, you know, getting released from they previous teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was kind of good to see their uniforms, the logo, like just a new team, like them in the Magic.
That makes me so happy because to know that, yeah, like Kenny Gaddison, Byron Scott, Blue Edwards, Greg Anthony, those are like the veterans of the team.
Yeah.
Actually, I talked to Kenny and he was like, he enjoyed his time in Vancouver, but on my phone interview with Kenny, he was like, he wasn't the happiest just because he was like, he did his expansion time with the New Orleans Hornets, or were they the New Orleans Hornets at that time, or just the Hornets? I forget what city they were.
Hornets.
Or Charlotte Hornets. Anyway, so it was just funny because he was like, man, like I already did my time with an expansion team, and now I got to do it again with the Grizzlies. But no,
he didn't know what
fun
to expect.
Yeah, but it was fun to talk to and reconnect with all these players.
Plus, y'all had that killer on your team too. Sharif
Yeah.
He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the president of the G League now, right?
He's president of the G League, yeah. So it was great to chat with Sharif, and he's obviously super busy with the G League, but grateful that he gave us time to sit down, because you can't tell the Grizzlies story without Sharif.
Nah, come on, straight out of high school, that dude was like for real.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't he Will? Like,
oh, he was.
Man, we was
first of all, the team they were putting together, I thought, you had Big Country, adding Sharif. I just said, Mike, baby, I'm like, okay, this team is
gonna be young and
good.
fast.
Yes. And then you had the right vets with them. Because who was the coach? Was it Brian Winters at the time or Stu Jackson?
Okay, so we went through, I think it was it 4 or 5 coaches. So first it was Brian Winters, and then Stu Jackson came in, and then we got Brian Hill, and then we got Lionel Hollins, and then Sidney Lowe. So there's 5 coaches within 6 years.
Wow.
That's a lot of coaches.
It's a lot of coaches. So that was one of the reasons, there was never, the Grizzlies didn't have like solid ground, right? There's like in constant flux. So that was difficult for the team.
All right. Last question for halftime.
Yeah.
What player from the Grizzlies would have fit well in today's game?
You know what? I would say Big Country, because he could shoot. Like who have I spoken to?
Yeah.
Who I
He
feel
did
like
go outside and shoot.
he could. I feel like he could play. Like, yeah, he's a big
He
guy
was a
with a
good
nice,
passer.
good passer, good footwork.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, and
you could never get Big Country in a rush. Like, he was always patient with whatever he was doing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It's interesting
he had
too.
that Jokic kind of game.
Yes, that's who everyone who I've spoken to, it's like they compare his game to yeah, exactly. So I think it would be Bryant. Yeah, Bryant Reeves. I'd love to see him play in today's game.
That would be interesting. Well, Kat, thank you for doing halftime with us.
My pleasure.
We want to jump into your Grizzlie Truth.
Yes.
But actually, even before that, really quick, tell people where they can see the Country Reed story at.
Yeah. So it's available. Like, go to our website, findingbigcountry.com. We'll have a list of places you can watch it. But I guess, one of the easiest places, it's on Tubi, but one of the easiest places is just on YouTube. Hit up Finding Big Country on YouTube. It's easily accessible for anyone to watch.
Yeah.
I guess if you're in the States, it might still be on Amazon. I'm not 100% sure. I'm forgetting. I should be well versed in this, but it might be on Amazon Prime. So check there first.
It should be on ESPN 30 for 30.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it should be on.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I wonder why they ain't put that into their catalog.
That's what it needs to be.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you saying that. I love 30 for 30s. Yeah.
So the Grizzlie Truth.
Yes. Next one.
Give us some background on that.
So, I've always wanted to... Yeah, go ahead, Arthur.
I was going to say, or what you can tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to keep my lips a bit sealed, but this has been... I've always wanted to tell this story. Like with Finding Big Country, I always wanted to tell that story, but even when I was making that story, the end goal was always, I want to tell the full story of the Vancouver Grizzlies. And so again, even when I was in Oklahoma with Bryant, in my head, I was asking him questions for this film. Because I knew that we wouldn't have time to explore everything in the Finding Big Country film. And I knew we probably, we might not make it back to Oklahoma for this next film. So I need to make sure I get everything I need for both films in the can. And so, I don't know, in Vancouver, there's still a lot of anger and resentment about the Vancouver Grizzlies because to Vancouver fans, the team just up and left. And, there was no real clear explanation about what happened. And so to this day, there's a lot of finger pointing, there's scapegoating, there's conspiracy theories. And so I think that happens when there's still confusion and fans don't have closure yet. And so this film, I really set out to figure out, to really get to the bottom of, to understand what happened to the Grizzlies and to hopefully, I wanted to celebrate the team. Right. The Grizzlies are kind of just remembered for being, a team that didn't have the best record, but they were more than that. Like, I think just like they were more than a basketball team. They inspired so many kids, like myself, who've gone to have hoop dreams. And my hoop dreams really started with the Grizzlies. They made me believe that I could be the first girl to play in the NBA. Like, that was what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to be the first girl to play in the NBA. That was my hoop dream. And that kind of confidence was taught to me by the Grizzlies. And that kind of confidence has followed me into my filmmaking career. And, being a female filmmaker, Filipina Canadian filmmaker in the sports media world, there's not too many of us out there. And so I bring that type of mentality of what I thought as a kid to my job now. It's like, well, why can't I? Why can't I be that? Why can't I do that? And so, so the film really is also meant to celebrate and honor the Grizzlies while also giving Vancouver fans closure, because there's still many heartbroken fans out there. And so I'm hoping that when they watch the film, they feel good about the Grizzlies and how things ended.
I can't
now, let me ask you this, Kat. Yeah, because I want to ask you this. Within that 6 years, did the ownership change? Who owned the Grizzlies?
Yeah, it changed a lot. So there was there's 4 ownership changes in 6 years.
Wow.
Well, I think that's part of the root of the problem right there, where you had to go there and check that out. Like,
yeah.
What was they thinking, and who's the last owner, and
yes,
what kind of financial thing was that? Was people selling out the arena? Like, was the players getting into trouble, and they didn't want that type? You know what I'm saying? Off court, they're gonna be. I'm quite sure you had a whole process lined up to how you wanted to go about this.
And actually, that's kind of the next question. Like, the process of filmmaking. Can you just walk us through that? How's that work? Take us from the inception, the idea, writing it, pitching it, filming it, even up to the big day of the premiere. Like, how long is this process?
It's very, very long. It's like you kind of have to be. I mean, you guys kind of know with your own film, like how long that process of like, we weren't documenting as long as Steve was. But I mean, I was dreaming about making this film since I was in university and film school. Then, in 2016, hit the ground running. 2018 made Finding Big Country. That opened the doors for me. After Finding Big Country, we started pitching this film. And thankfully, people got on board right away, like much, much faster, because they were like, okay, we see what, we saw what you did with Finding Big Country, and there's obviously clearly an audience and an appetite for this. And so, but with that being said, it still took us 2 years to get the film fully funded. So that's like me and my producers, Michael and James, that's us hustling, writing so many grants. Like we were like, just, knocking on so many doors. We finally got approval in 2020, and then COVID hit. And so we had to put the production on hold, and it was very stressful because with documentaries, like you're going into people's homes and you're interacting with real people. And so I didn't want to, like the part of the pitch was, or part of the film was like me being a super fan, becoming a detective, trying to figure out what happened to the team. So really being an investigative journalist. And how do you do that when there's COVID, especially before, when there were no vaccines? We didn't know much about, what was happening. I'm grateful for my team, because we were able to put the production on hold for about a year until, because we weren't comfortable with traveling until we were vaccinated, especially again, because like I'm going into people's homes. And so we wanted to make sure that we were protecting our subjects and their families and being responsible. And so we started filming in 2021, and we went everywhere. I'll just tell you, like, so we were like Seattle, Portland. I went to LA twice, Houston, Memphis, Las Vegas. Like we just went all over the place filming.
Let me get some of the frequent flyer miles.
yeah, exactly. I should check that, Arthur. I need to figure out where. Racking up the points here.
Right.
But we traveled everywhere, but it was really stressful to do that during COVID. Because of course, us being in Canada, we had to test negative every time we left, and so it was just I have not done anything this year because I was so paranoid about not like getting sick that I didn't want to take the risk, because like there was so much on the line with this film. Because if I get sick, then I'd miss this interview, and I only have one shot. Like this subject is only giving me this small window to interview him, and if I miss it, I miss it. And so, anyways, it was really tough. And I know I'm speaking for all creators. You guys also to create during COVID. It was was so difficult. But we were able to figure out solutions, creative solutions, and we made it work. But it was tough. So 2 years of so we got it. We got people on board, but 2 years of pitching to get it fully funded. Then COVID hits. We have to restructure things, reimagine things, recoup, adjust. And it's just picking up the phone and talking to whoever says yes to me. I feel like we probably did around 40 sit down interviews, so many Zoom interviews. Like I've spoken to, I've been on the phone with, the workers who worked in GM Place as like the working like the concessions. I've talked to people who made the tailor suits for the Grizzlies when they were here. Like I've literally like ball girls, ball boys, like mascots, dancers, managers, players, like assistant coaches, trainers, physiotherapists, like everyone. I've tracked down everyone to try to figure out the truth of what happened here.
So let me ask you this. Was David Stern dead already?
He unfortunately he was someone that I wanted to interview, when I had first imagined this film, but unfortunately he passed while, before we began shooting. So that was an interview that we weren't able to get.
And I want to throw this at you too. The story has been talked about on different levels many, many different times, but it also seems like it's such a hush-hush too. Like nobody really wanted to really delve into this. It's. Do you think there's also that some people just didn't want this story told as well?
You know what? Maybe, yeah, I think so. And I just think, I mean, possibly. I think, and that was, the NBA, they've been so great and supportive of the film, which was so great to have them on board. But my goal was to really, again, like, I think that the true crime, angle and mystery, the true crime angle is just like a way into the story. But really, the film is much more than that. It's really about celebrating the team, giving a chance for audiences to get to know the Grizzlies and to see how much Vancouver loved its NBA team. Like, I think we get a bad rap for like, there was no fan support and, the Grizzlies weren't loved, but that's far from the truth. And so one of my goals, there are many Grizzly truths that you're going to learn in this film. And I hope one of them is how much the city of Vancouver and Vancouver Grizzly fans love their team.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, Canada has a lot of high school basketball players come out of there in the last late 2000s all the way.
Yes.
I mean, they've really come out of there like gangbusters.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you know what I really want to know. How did the deal with the Uninterrupted come about, and what's their role in the film?
Yes, so they're our executive producers. I think they Uninterrupted got in touch after Finding the Country was released, and we just started having conversations about, because I was like, oh man, if you love Finding the Country, like I want to make another one, and I want to make a longer, bigger film. And so they were interested right away. And at that time, they were just opening up Uninterrupted Canada. And so we got connected with their Canadian team. And so, so they're executive producers. And, I'm honored to be working with them, to be collaborating with them, and for this to be, an Uninterrupted Canada production.
That's huge.
Them boys doing it, ain't they, Will?
Yeah. That's huge there. Now, talk to us a little bit about the evolution of basketball in Vancouver and the growth of the city itself.
I mean, basketball is like, I think since the Grizzlies are key in this equation, basketball right now is just, it's so, I mean, basketball is it's a global sport, not just in Vancouver, it's a global sport, but it's really big in Vancouver, and the Grizzlies were a huge part of that. They planted the seed, back, when the Grizzlies were in town before, there weren't as many hoops in driveways as they were when the Grizzlies left. Like the Grizzlies really instilled this love of basketball. They had the Junior Grizzlies, which is like a it wasn't like it was like a basketball. It was a basketball league for younger kids, and everyone was part of the junior Grizzlies. And so, I feel like basketball has really taken over the city. It's so much more popular than it was in the 90s. Again, thanks to the Grizzlies and the Raptors as well.
There's so many things I want to ask you, Kat. It's whether it's basketball, whether it is with the film. But one of the things I want to just probably talk to you a little bit about is even moving forward in filmmaking because of social media. Players personalize is no more, it's not personal anymore. Like we see kind of everything. How does that affect filmmaking and the future of documentary filmmaking?
That is such a good question, Will. Like I know I was listening to that's why The Last Dance was like I feel like such a big hit because we, and not that I don't like being able to see everything, but at the same time there was this mystery behind NBA players because you didn't really get to see them up close like we do now. Now we have like front row access to anything that they want to show us. But I think that's why like The Last Dance was such a big hit because like we never got that close to like Michael or like we didn't know these like backstories or like what was going on behind the scenes.
Hell, we didn't even know they was filming a movie while we was watching it in real life. Yes. Every night on TV, like we didn't know a film camera crew was following them on the last run.
What the heck?
Like we didn't even know that shit, and they kept it silent for years.
That's so wild when you think about it. Yeah, Arthur, that's so 100%. But I don't know, like I do. I mean, I love the access that we have now, but there is something special about, I don't know, just like knowing just a little bit of like these heroes that I also kind of miss. Like it's like the magic of it. I feel like the magic of it, it was different. I don't know. I'm not saying it's better or worse now, but it was just different. And I think it created, it played into the magic of like being a childhood fan somehow. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know how. I think it does affect documentary filmmaking in many ways because it's like everyone knows what's happening. Like you couldn't keep a camera crew under wraps like that now because everyone would see it. You'd be like, hey, what are they making? They're making something, right?
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. I think it is changing.
Do you think they'll ever get an NBA team back in Vancouver?
I hope so. I mean, I know Seattle. Seattle definitely deserves a team before we do. They should never have lost their team. They had like history, like way more history than we did. Yeah. So I'm hopeful, and I do want Seattle to get a team back. And then I know Las Vegas is wanting a team, but Vancouver. If it was Seattle, Vancouver, like come on, like LeBron was in town a few weeks ago, and it was his first time in Vancouver. He tweeted how much he loved the city, and so LeBron, like if you're watching this, like come on, like help Vancouver get a team back. Right, we deserve another shot at the NBA, and I think after watching the Grizzlie Truth, my goal is everyone will see that things. It was just a bad. It was the perfect storm of things that happened that made the Grizzlies leave town. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't the city's fault. It wasn't the fans' fault. And so we deserve another shot at it. I really believe that.
I think because of basketball have exploded along with social media, I think a team would do very well there right now. Yes. Just because of all the influx of high school players, all the different channels now that they have to try to make it to the NBA. And wouldn't it be something if they brought a pro team back and they had 3 Canada players on their team that was straight up stars? I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like that would show kids there the hoop dream is alive.
Yes. No, exactly. So I am hopeful. I know it's not going to be overnight, and hopefully, I won't be an old granny when this happens, but I think it's possible.
What are you currently working on?
I'm currently working. Okay. I have a few things that are in the mix. I'd say the main thing is I'm working on a documentary about the Game 7 hockey rights here in Vancouver, 2011. I'm co-directing that. So my team and I are very excited about getting that one off the ground. I have a few other ideas and projects that are in development, but at the same time, like I've been working nonstop for the past few years, and once the Grizzlie Truth is out, and we start to play at festivals, like I'm just going to sit back and relax and just like enjoy the ride that it takes me on, because I need a little break, and then I'll be back on my feet to keep working.
Now, we've been seeing your Instagram post because we knew you was coming on the show. So I just got to ask, is this hockey? Will this be a ESPN 30 for 30? We want the exclusive.
I don't know yet. I can't say for sure,
okay,
but I will say that like 30, like I've always wanted to make it 30 for 30. Like that was always my dream. In university, like I'd watch episodes with my friends, and I'd be like, one day I want to make one of those. Like one day I will make one of those. And so I've been knocking on 30 for 30's door for like almost a decade now. I have, so hopefully one of these days, and I'll let you guys know when that happens.
Well, the rumor mill seems like this 30 for 30 for the hockey doc might be it. That's just what I'm hearing. That's all. So
I will, I'll keep you posted once,
right.
yeah.
You
know what that means, Agee? She just can't say it yet. That's what that means.
Right. Can't say it yet.
Can't say it yet.
So look, let me ask you this. By being a filmmaker, have you ever felt the urge to have to move to New York or LA?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, definitely. I have thought about it. I feel like every filmmaker probably thinks about it. I would love if a project, comes my way that has to have me in LA or New York for a period of time. Like I would love that. I have such a soft spot for Vancouver. Like I'm such a proud Vancouverite, and I really I need the ocean and the mountains. Like it's very calming for me, and the greenery, and we have that all here. And so I don't know. I feel like I love LA, and I love especially New York. I love visiting. And I would love to work on a project there where I have to be there for a long period of time. But then I'd always come back home to Vancouver. I get homesick very easily.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where does your inspiration come from? Like, who are some of the directors that currently, and maybe even in the past, that you enjoy watching?
I get a 30 for 30 series. I absolutely love Jason Hare from who did Fab Five, who did The Last Dance. Like I love his work. Like in university, the Fab Five, which I have where I showed you guys where your DVD is, like the Fab Five DVDs there as well. Like I watched that doc so many times. Like I would just I would have it on like before I slept. Like it was just such a, I felt the storytelling was just so well done. And then of course, like with The Last Dance, it just showed like his storytelling chops, because it was just like a 10-part series. Like there's just so much that happens in each episode, and the way it's crafted. I always just have that on the background, and I'm constantly learning. Like when I watch a documentary, I'm always analyzing it. Like, hey, how did the director get this access? How did the director get this subject to answer this question in that way? And so I love doing that with Jason's films. Whenever I get, I take pride in like coming from a family of filmmakers. And when I go to the Philippines and people ask me what I do, and I say I'm a filmmaker, they'll say, "Oh yeah, like it's in your blood." And I take pride in that. I hope to make my grandfather proud, and who was also a filmmaker, as I mentioned. But there's so many great stories being told right now, and so many great filmmakers. And so, another series that I love is that's just new is the Untold series. Yeah. I don't know if you guys, The Mouse in the Palace is one of them, like I mentioned.
Oh yeah.
But I'd love to direct one of them.
And the one with the referee, the one with the NBA ref.
I haven't seen that one yet. That's new. That's new season.
Yeah, that's
check that one out.
That one.
Those are
the
good.
Other episode, the hockey, the Thrashers, the hockey one was also so good. So yeah, I haven't had time to watch the new season, but I'm gonna sink my teeth in soon.
I tell you, you know what else I love that Jason did so well with the Last Dance? His soundtrack was just,
so
the
good.
music was just, I was like,
yeah,
what?
the soundtrack was killer.
Oh, the soundtrack was just hitting.
So good. There's one more documentary that just came out that I love. It's again another 30 for 30. You guys have to check it out. Kristen Lappa's a Dream On, about this team, this dream team. So good. It's
yes.
so
That is
this
on
is
my to-see list.
you have to watch it. It's so good. It's a 3-part series. It's fantastic. So
yeah, I'm that much into basketball films. I watched it already. Yeah,
yeah,
that was dope. That was dope.
it's good, right? Yeah,
I couldn't believe. Wait till you see how they treated Rebecca Lobo.
Oh yeah, Arthur, yeah.
Oh my God, Will, you're gonna be like, damn, Tara, the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darcy,
you know what?
yeah.
I'm watching that tonight.
Yes.
Kat, we have taken up so much of your time, and this has been amazing. Truly an honor. I got one last question for you. Then my dog Agee got one last question for you. And my question for you is this. Being who you are, what you've come through, what you have grown into, what words of wisdom do you have for the next generation of filmmakers? Any tips, advice? Because you are the up and comer. You are the person now. What do you have to say to that younger generation coming behind you?
I would say it's part of your job as directors. I've said this many times. It's just like it's protect your dream, because many people are going to tell you no. Many people are not going to believe in you, and it's your job. It's part of your job description to not listen to take their criticism, take what they're saying, and maybe adjust. Like maybe they are onto something. Maybe you need to fix something in your pitch. Maybe something's not landing. But if you truly believe in your heart of hearts that you have something special, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I guess the other thing is just like, I think being kind, being genuine, and being, that quote I said, when your intentions are pure, the angels will come. And that literally is what happened. Like all the stars magically aligned for the Grizzlie Truth. And I'd love to, when you guys watch it, I feel like you'll see what I mean. Because I was so stressed out about this film, because there's so many key players that I needed, that I was like, okay, if I don't get this person, it's not a complete film. It's not gonna work. And somehow all the stars aligned. And I think it's because, I led with when you lead with your heart, and you, again, I would just share to people, like, I'm a childhood fan, and you guys inspired me to dream big. And this is one of my dreams. Will you help me? And, everyone said yes. And again, I'm so grateful to all the Grizzly players who said yes. The Grizzlies, Stu Jackson has told me that, I've Stu Jackson and people I spoke to in pre-interview calls, like, they wanted to draft men with character, players with character. And having interviewed so many Grizzly players, I can see what Stu and Larry Riley, the scouting team, were on about. Because I don't know if that many players would have given me the time of day like the Vancouver Grizzlies did. They were just so kind.
Special group of guys.
Yeah.
Well, this is my next question for you. So, what's the next chapter in Kat Jayme's Hoop Dream?
The next chapter. Oh my gosh. I guess there's a little
feature
break.
Film?
there is. Yeah, you know what? I have some ideas that I'm thinking about. I've made this is my 4th Vancouver Grizzly film that I've made. So I have a lot of other ideas. But I think just making sure that I'm telling meaningful stories, personal stories, and helping the next generation come up. Like, I really feel like that is a part of my job description now. And, you know, I just want to tell powerful stories that help shape, shape the conversation, whatever that conversation might be. So in this case, it is about helping bring a team back to Vancouver. That is one of the other goals of this film.
Okay.
Kat, you are a true fan. First of all, Agee, you see the Tykes hoop behind her?
Yeah.
She got a Tykes Grizzly basketball hoop. I mean,
he says Tykes.
Yeah. This is for
He said a little basketball hoop.
It's for 3-year-olds, and I remember I had to put, like, when I got it, I had to put like another 3 like on the box to be like, this is for 33-year-olds. Yeah.
Right.
And is that an actually Grizzly Tyke thing, or that's a sticker?
Well, it's a sticker that I put on there to hide the Tyke logo to make it a Grizzly. Yeah.
This ain't no damn Tyke. It's a
limited edition. That's a true hoop fan there. That's a true hoop fan. Well, we want to thank you for being on the Hoop Dreams podcast today. It has been an honor and a privilege, and we can't wait for the rest of the projects to come out, because there's some other big ones we didn't talk about too that you've been hitting at on your social media page. But thank you so much for being a part of the show. We are truly honored to have you today.
Thank you so much, Will and Arthur. It's the honor and pleasure is all mine. Again, this is one of the coolest things of, like, highlights of my career is talking to you guys, and I hope to meet you guys so that you guys can sign this book for me. So I'm gonna, one of these days, I'll have to
well, you got to do the reverse. If we sign it, we got to get autographed copies of those movies now. You got to do the reverse.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Yes, 100%. Yes. It'll be, my next film will be Finding Will and Arthur.
I'm the gold of my era. I've been a trending topic. I'm as fly as a feather. My pocket's macroscopic. See, with time I get better. I'm always in the action, kid. Know I got it locked from Chicago where the toughest live. Concrete jungle, earn my stripes on the pavement there. You make it here, then you can make it anywhere. No comparison. Your game is embarrassing. No one can touch me. I'm all for going there again. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production. Written and produced by Arthur Agee, Will Gates, Matt Hoffar, with audio engineering from Matt Savage. For more episodes, check us out at www.unlearningnetwork.com.
Gotta be a dog to survive in this cold weather. Ice in my veins, no need for a warm sweater. I'm coming for it all, best believe I won't let up, yeah. Hey, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.